Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring the world of AI, and we're doing it through the lens of someone who's been incredibly important to its development, Greg Brockman.
When you look back at Brockman's career, it really is kind of like watching the evolution of AI in fast forward. I mean, think about it. He went from programming in like a small town in North Dakota all the way to co-founding OpenAI.
It's amazing, like from Harvard and MIT to building Stripe, which revolutionized fintech, and then diving headfirst into AI. Makes you wonder what's next for him.
I know, right? And what I find fascinating is how his journey sort of mirrors how AI itself has become so central to just about every industry.
Okay, so OpenAI. Can you explain a little bit about what it is and how it's different from the other companies out there working on AI, for people who might not be totally familiar?
Yeah, sure. So OpenAI was founded on this really ambitious idea.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that artificial general intelligence, AGI, benefits all of humanity.
It's a pretty bold mission, especially when you think about how powerful AGI could be.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that at first, OpenAI was a nonprofit.
Really? That's pretty unusual for a tech company, especially one working on something as potentially groundbreaking as AGI. You'd think attracting top talent would be really hard, especially with all the competition in AI research.
Yeah, you would think that. But Brockman and the other co-founders, like Elon Musk and Sam Altman, they actually managed to build an incredible team. I think a lot of it had to do with that shared vision of creating beneficial AI, and of course the challenge of tackling those really hard problems that come with it.
Okay, so they've got the talent, they have this mission, but they're a nonprofit. How do they actually overcome the financial challenges that come with, cutting edge AI research? That can't be cheap.
Well, that's where this story takes another interesting turn. So they eventually switch from being a nonprofit to what's called a capped profit model. It's kind of this hybrid approach that lets them get the funding they need to compete with these tech giants like, Google and Microsoft, but without abandoning that core mission.
Okay, so how does that work? I mean, investors are still looking to, make a profit.
Of course, yeah. But the way OpenAI is set up now, the investors are guaranteed a fixed return on their investment. And then anything beyond that cap goes right back into OpenAI, back into research, back into the mission of beneficial AI.
So it's like they found this really clever way to balance the need for money, like financial sustainability, with that commitment to ethical AI.
Exactly. And this whole approach really wouldn't have been possible without Brockman's leadership. I mean, he's been super involved in shaping OpenAI's research, like making sure they stay true to those principles while also being able to compete at the highest levels of the tech industry.
And of course, we can't talk about OpenAI without talking about the GPT models. They've been everywhere lately, and it's been hard to miss. Can you explain, what they are and why they're so significant for those who maybe aren't as familiar?
Oh, absolutely. So think of GPT, which stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, as this incredibly powerful language processing system. It's a type of AI that learns to use language by analyzing tons and tons of text data.
So it's kind of like feeding a computer all the books in the library and then teaching it to write and translate and even answer questions based on what it's learned.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great way to put it. And what's really revolutionary is that GPT can generate text that's often indistinguishable from something a human wrote. Like it can write different types of creative content, translate languages, answer your questions in a comprehensive way.
Yeah.
All those things that, we used to think only humans could do.
It's like having a Shakespeare and a Tolstoy and a whole team of expert translators all rolled into one AI system.
I like that analogy. And yeah, the implications are huge. I mean, imagine a healthcare navigation system powered by GPT. So you could describe your symptoms in regular language and it would help you find the right doctor or resources. Or think about those frustrating customer support chatbots. GPT could make them so much better by allowing them to understand and respond to your questions in a more natural way.
Those chatbots that feel like you're talking to a wall, they could actually be helpful. I gotta admit, I'm a little skeptical, but also intrigued.
That's the goal. And then there's education. Imagine GPT-powered tools that could give students personalized feedback on their essays or provide custom tutoring. Even help teachers create better lesson plans. The possibilities are, endless.
It really does sound like there are endless possibilities. But with all this incredible potential, there are also some big questions about, AI and the future, its impact on society, and of course, the ethical dilemmas. And it seems like Brockman has been thinking about these things from the very beginning.
Absolutely. I'd even say that his awareness of these potential issues has been a huge driving force behind his work at OpenAI. He's not just interested in building powerful AI. He wants to build AI that's beneficial, ethical, and accessible to everyone.
Okay, so let's dig into that a bit more. What are like the key elements of his philosophy when it comes to AI, and how has that shaped OpenAI's approach?
One of the most important things is this idea of AI for good. And it's not just a slogan, it's a core belief that guides like everything OpenAI does. It means that AI development should be driven by this desire to solve problems, create positive change, and make sure the benefits are shared by everyone.
That's a really noble goal, especially in the tech world where it feels like everything is driven by profit or competition. So how does that play out in the way OpenAI operates?
Well, one way is their commitment to transparency. They've made a real effort to share their research, publish details about their models, and even in some cases, release some of their tools to the public. They want to like build trust and encourage responsible development. It's a big contrast to some tech companies that operate in total secrecy.
So they're not just building cool AI in a bubble, they're trying to get the community involved in this conversation about how AI should be developed and used. It's definitely a different approach.
It is. And another important part of Brockman's philosophy is this focus on mitigating the potential risks that come with developing advanced AI. We know AI is powerful, and with that power comes a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it's not hard to imagine scenarios where AI could be misused, even become dangerous if it falls into the wrong hands.
Exactly. And that's why OpenAI has put so much effort into AI safety research. Things like making sure AI systems are aligned with human values, that they're robust and not prone to errors, and that they're transparent so we can understand how they're making decisions.
So it's not just about making sure the AI works, it's about making sure it works in a safe and ethical way, which I imagine adds a whole other layer of complexity to the research.
Oh, absolutely. And it's something that Brockman has been thinking about and working on since the very beginning.
Before we move on to like the bigger implications of all this, I'm curious about how involved Brockman was in the actual development of the GPT models. I mean, it sounds like he's not just a visionary leader, he's very hands-on with the technical stuff.
Yeah, you're right. He's definitely not just a figurehead. Brockman was super involved in shaping the research for the entire GPT series. He provided a lot of technical oversight, especially when it came to making sure these models were, like, scalable and efficient. Because training these large language models takes a massive amount of computing power.
So he's got the big picture vision, but he's also making sure the nuts and bolts of the technology are working properly. It's a pretty rare combo.
I think so too. And his contributions go way beyond just GPT. He's also been behind breakthroughs in things like reinforcement learning and generative adversarial networks. Those are the AI systems that can create those like crazy realistic images and videos you see online. He's always pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.
It really is fascinating stuff, and it feels like with all this incredible innovation, there's this huge responsibility to make sure AI is used for good and that we're ready for all the changes it's going to bring. And it sounds like that's exactly what Brockman and OpenAI are trying to do.
Absolutely. They get that AI is not just another technology. It has the potential to reshape our world in big ways. And they're committed to making sure that reshaping benefits all of us.
I think that's a good place to pause for now. Welcome back to our deep dive on Greg Brockman and OpenAI. Before we took a pause, we were talking about Brockman's vision for AI for good and, well, how that philosophy is shaping OpenAI's approach to, AI development.
Yeah, and it really is crucial because we all know AI has this huge potential to do a lot of good. But it could also be, well, pretty disruptive too.
Definitely. And it's interesting, right? Brockman seems very aware of the potential downsides, too. It's not just about building cool new tech. He's really thinking about those bigger societal implications of AI.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that awareness really shows in how OpenAI is, like, structured and how it operates.
Can you give me some examples of what you mean? Like, how does that actually work in practice?
Okay, so one example is how they handle releasing their AI models. Some companies just kind of throw their tech out there and see what happens. But OpenAI has been a lot more cautious. They take this like step-by-step approach, releasing their models in stages. Then they watch how they're being used. They get feedback from the community. It's a whole process.
So they're trying to understand how the technology is actually being used in the real world before they make it available to everyone.
Exactly. It's all about trying to minimize those risks and make sure people are using your models responsibly.
It sounds a lot more thoughtful than what we usually see in the tech world. But let's talk about those risks for a minute. What are some of the things that worry people when it comes to AI?
I think one of the biggest worries is what's going to happen to jobs. As AI becomes more advanced, it can automate a lot of stuff that humans are doing right now. And, well, that could lead to, people losing their jobs in some industries.
It's that whole, like, robots taking over our jobs thing, right? Except it's not science fiction anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's important to remember that AI will also create new jobs and new opportunities too. The key is going to be adapting to all these changes and, making sure everyone has the skills they need to be successful in a world where AI is, well, everywhere.
So it's not just about being afraid of the robots, it's about learning how to work with them and use their capabilities to do good things.
Exactly. It's about like rethinking how we work and figuring out how humans and AI can, work together effectively.
Now, beyond the economic stuff, there's also this bigger question of how AI is going to impact society overall. As AI becomes more integrated into our lives, what kind of changes do you see happening?
Whoa, that's a huge question.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has a perfect answer yet, but I can definitely share some thoughts based on what we're seeing already.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to hear them.
So, for one thing, I think AI is going to speed up the pace of change in every part of our lives. Things are already moving super fast, and AI is just going to make it even faster.
So buckle up, everyone.
Exactly. And we're going to see AI become more and more part of our everyday lives in ways we might not even notice. Think about the recommendations you get on Netflix or Spotify, or how your phone knows what you're going to type next. That's all AI, and it's only going to become more common.
It's like AI is becoming this invisible force that's shaping our decisions and experiences, even if we don't realize it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I think it's important that we're aware of that influence. We need to think about how AI is being used to guide our choices.
Now, you mentioned before that AI could help us solve some of the world's biggest problems. Can you talk more about that? Where do you see AI making a real positive impact?
Oh, there's so many areas. Healthcare is a big one. AI is already being used to develop new medications, diagnose diseases earlier, and create those personalized treatment plans. And as AI gets even more sophisticated, it could totally revolutionize how healthcare works,
Yeah.
making it more accessible and affordable for everyone.
It's like having access to, the world's best doctors no matter where you live or how much money you have.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then there's climate change. AI can help us come up with better renewable energy sources, use our resources more efficiently, even predict and prepare for those extreme weather events.
So AI could be a huge help in fighting climate change. What else?
Well, it can also help with issues like poverty and hunger. It can help us optimize food production, improve supply chains, and even predict and prevent famines. And in education, AI can personalize learning, give students targeted support, and help us create better educational tools that are more engaging.
Wow, it sounds like AI has the potential to make a real difference in so many different areas. I guess the big question is, are we going to use it in the right way? Are we going to make sure it's used to help people, not hurt them?
I know, right? That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it's something we all need to be thinking about. It's not just on the tech companies or the researchers to figure this out. It's a societal issue that everyone needs to be part of.
So we need to have these conversations, be aware of the risks, and work together to make sure that AI is used in a way that benefits everyone.
Absolutely. It's not about the technology itself. It's about how we choose to use it.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to go back to Greg Brockman for a second. We talked about his vision of AI for good and how it's shaping OpenAI, but what about his leadership style? What kind of leader is he, and how has that influenced OpenAI's culture?
Oh, that's a good question. I think Brockman is a really interesting leader. Obviously, he's brilliant, but he's also incredibly driven and passionate about his work.
You can totally hear that passion when he talks about AI. It's infectious.
It is. And I think that passion is a big part of why OpenAI has been so successful and innovative. He's created this environment where people are encouraged to think big, take risks, and push those boundaries of what's possible.
It sounds like a pretty awesome place to work. But what about the day-to-day stuff? How does Brockman actually lead? What's his style like?
Well, from what I've seen, he's really hands-on. He's involved in all parts of OpenAI, everything from setting research goals to hiring people to making sure the company is doing things ethically.
So he's not just a big picture guy. He's a builder and a manager too.
Totally. And I think that's why he's such a good leader. He can balance that big picture vision with a very practical, get things done attitude.
It sounds like he's the kind of leader who inspires people to do their best work.
Absolutely. And I think that shows in the quality of work OpenAI is doing. They're leading the way in AI research and development.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to move on. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've been talking all about Greg Brockman, his vision for AI that's actually good for the world, and OpenAI's unique approach to, how they build and release their technologies.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. And we're already seeing the impact of their work in so many different fields. It's pretty amazing.
It is. So I'm curious, can you give me some specific examples? Like, how are OpenAI's technologies actually being used out there in the real world?
Okay, well, one area where we're seeing a huge impact is healthcare. OpenAI has developed some tools that are actually helping doctors diagnose diseases, more accurately. And they're helping personalize treatment plans and even speed up drug discovery.
So AI is literally helping save lives and, improve how patients are treated.
That's right. And it's not just about this super advanced medical research. These tools are also making healthcare more accessible and affordable. Imagine if anyone, no matter where they lived or how much money they had, could get high quality medical advice and support, all powered by AI.
That would be amazing. What about other areas beyond healthcare? Where else are we seeing these technologies being used?
Well, OpenAI's tech is also being used in education. It's helping create those personalized learning experiences for students, at all different levels. Imagine AI tutors that can, adapt to each student's individual needs and how they learn best, giving them that custom instruction and support.
That would be incredible, especially for students who, might struggle in a traditional classroom.
Exactly. And it can even help with those teacher shortages, and the fact that not everyone has access to good education.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about how AI could, level the playing field when it comes to learning.
And we can't forget about the arts. OpenAI's models are being used by, artists, musicians, writers. They're using them to come up with new ideas, explore different creative styles, even collaborate with the AI on completely new forms of art.
So AI isn't just for, scientists and engineers. It's becoming a partner for creative people, too.
It really is. And the things they're creating are really exciting. We're seeing new types of music, art, literature, stuff that wouldn't exist without AI.
Now, we've talked a lot about the good things, all the potential benefits of AI, but we should also talk about the challenges. What are some of the things we need to be thinking about, especially as AI gets more powerful and, more common in our lives?
I think one of the biggest challenges is going to be figuring out how to manage the impact of AI on jobs. As AI automates more things, it's going to change, the whole nature of work. And yeah, some jobs might disappear.
It's a valid concern, something that policymakers and, business leaders really need to be thinking about.
For sure.
Yeah.
We need to invest in education and training so people can adapt to those changes.
Yeah.
And we have to explore those new economic models, ones that make sure everyone benefits from these advances in AI.
So it's not just about being afraid of losing jobs. It's about, figuring out how we can use AI to create new opportunities.
Right.
And build a fairer economy.
Right. And we also have to be really careful about AI being used in ways that could hurt people or make existing inequalities worse.
Can you give me some examples? What do you mean by that?
Well, we've already seen some AI systems being used to create deepfakes. Those super realistic but totally fake videos. Those can be used to spread, false information or ruin someone's reputation. And then there's the whole worry about AI being used in surveillance systems. That could invade people's privacy or be used to unfairly target specific groups.
So it's not just the tech itself that matters, it's who's controlling it and how they're using it.
Exactly. And that's why organizations like OpenAI are so important. They're not just building powerful AI. They're committed to making sure it's used ethically and responsibly.
Which brings us right back to Greg Brockman and his whole vision of, AI for good. It seems more important now than ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He gets that AI can be both incredibly beneficial and incredibly harmful. And he's dedicated his career to making sure we're using it wisely for the benefit of everyone.
Well, this has been such a fascinating deep dive into the world of Greg Brockman, OpenAI, and the whole future of artificial intelligence. Thanks so much for sharing your expertise with me.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
And to all our listeners, make sure to check out the show notes. We've got links and resources there so you can learn even more about this incredibly important and, always evolving field. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep exploring.